According to reports, US President Joe Biden would consider placing conditions on future military to Israel if its military moves ahead with a planned offensive against the southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah. Though Biden has not yet made a decision on limiting weapon supplies, he may be prompted to do so if a Rafah operation endangers Palestinian civilians. White House Deputy Press Secretary Olivia Dalton, speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, confirmed that Israel has not yet provided Washington with a plan to protect Rafah civilians, but would not be drawn to comment on whether conditioning arms supplies to Israel is under observation. Defense expert Major Mohammad Ali Shah is joining us on the program to talk about this. But before that, we'll also take a quick comment from my colleague Brian. Brian, this is completely a turnaround from what we saw in the first or perhaps the second week of October, where the Americans were the biggest supporters of the 7th October attacks against Israel by Hamas. Now they seem to be singing a different tune altogether. The civilian lives which are being lost in Palestine, in Gaza, have amounted to over 25,000 people. And this obviously is a big humanitarian concern and a tangent for the Americans to pull up Israel.
Definitely, we need, even right now, so what we are getting to know now, that the US officials have informed that we are considering now to attaching conditions to future military aid to Israel if Israel proceeds now with a planned offensive in the southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah. And even there are 4 officials also who, even though they spoke anonymously, indicated that while President Biden has not made a definitive decision on limiting weapon supplies, such action may be taken if an operation in Rafah puts Palestinian civilians at risk. And even, to give more perspective, also Biden previously also stated that an Israeli entry into Rafah would be a red line for his administration, but also emphasized his commitment rather to providing Israel with the means to defend itself. And the US has also stressed that Israel must demonstrate a plan to protect civilians in Rafah during any potential ground offensive. And despite Israel's assurance also evacuating residents, details of the military's operational plan arrangements for civilian safety still definitely remains undisclosed. And even White House Deputy Press Secretary Olivia Dalton also...
Right. Major Mohammad Ali Shah is also with us on the program. Ali, this seems to be a complete turnaround of the policy, or rather the foreign policy that the Americans had been pursuing with Israel. This has almost become like a friction between Israel and the United States because of the civilian population that continues to die in Gaza. 12,000 children have been killed. In fact, a number of people who supported Israel are now supporting Gaza and the humanitarian crisis that is ensuing there. What do you make of this situation, and how unlikely is it that Israel is going to in fact lose more support in the future?
Yes, Vineet, you are absolutely right. I firstly commend your understanding about I've been following you for years now. Hang on, you hit the nail on its head. People who were very, very pro-Israel. Israel is also our friend, in fact, our very dear friend. But the very fact is, whenever a friend goes wrong, it is your moral responsibility as a friend to also tell him that, listen, you are doing wrong. This is not the right way to do it. Otherwise, you're not a true friend. Similarly, a lot of people, 12,000 children, 12,000 children, the very big figure, over 31,000 civilians in Gaza, 70,000 wounded. It is a very, very big number. People were expecting, say, maybe by 10th of March, a ceasefire would come about, and there would be some form of an understanding. And Hamas should firstly release all the people, all the hostages. There is no question about that. They don't have a choice. Otherwise, because of that, so many will suffer. Now, Israel has actually gone berserk in bombarding Gaza to a large extent. Now, there were reports about President Joe Biden said there would be no further military aid to Israel if attacks go on further to Rafah. Now, further on, the National Security Advisor of US, Jake Sullivan, he poured more cold water on the recent reports that came that the White House is considering withholding aid to Israel if it moves forward with a major ground assault on the southern city of Gaza, that is in Rafah. Now, to quote Jake Sullivan, he had said, I remember reading this, we are not going to engage in hypotheticals about what comes down the line. And the reports that purport to describe the president's thinking are uninformed speculation. That's what Jake Sullivan had said. Now, this was during a press conference. Now, Sullivan also reiterated that the US has to, because US, it's very important for the US to come forward. They won't support an IDF operation in Rafah unless Israel puts down a plan towards the evacuation of over 1 million Palestinians currently sheltered in the city Now, Jerusalem has not as yet come forward with any such plan. Now, the OIC, they are not on one page, Vineet. There was an OIC meeting recently in Egypt, which was supposed to be conducted in 2 phases. It was held only on 1 phase. Why? Because all the OIC countries were not on 1 page. Now, the very fact is the support Israel received earlier, the administration, the loss of humanity. It's not had the same thing happen in Israel. Everybody would have condemned it also. So the very fact is, anywhere where there is destruction of human lives, property, it is, you are after Hamas, go after Hamas, most welcome. And Israel and Hamas deserves to be attacked. There is no doubt about it. What they had done on 7th October was unpardonable, unacceptable, and nobody would actually accept that. But the very fact is, because of that, there are over 40,000 fighters in Hamas. Their leadership is all in Qatar and other countries. So it's an ideology again. To finish that ideology of Hamas, it's very, very challenging, and it must be finished, no doubt. But at the
right, and Ali, just to inform our viewers, 32,000 people in fact have died in Gaza ever since October 7th. 74,000 civilians, Ali, have been injured, and that is up against the 1,200 people who were attacked and killed on the 7th of October, and dozens who are continuing to be held as hostages by Hamas. Shouldn't they be releasing these hostages and coming to some sort of a truce with Israel at this point in time, Ali? Because that seems to be a big bone of contention. Quick response.
Absolutely, a very, very good question, and a very, very practical question. Yes, Hamas should be releasing the hostages straight away. No ifs, no buts about it. And there is no room for Hamas to be negotiated with. They have to release, otherwise, because of Hamas's ill actions, innocents, as you mentioned, over 32,000 civilians, innocent have lost their life. 74,000 people have been wounded, 12,000 children only. So I would hold Hamas responsible for it also. Apart from the IDF, it's Hamas action as well. So most certainly the hostages should be released at the earliest.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.